against this giant machine of popular entertainment. You know, how do you get somebody who's like a really interesting artist seen when Jersey Shore is the most popular show on TV? So I guess
Yeah.
that's always going to be a question. Part of what we're talking about is that artist that is underground that really deserves to be heard. Like we were talking about Rocky Erickson, how he was really like the groundbreaking psychedelic space rock group. I mean, his group with the 13-floor elevators were like the first basically psychedelic band ever. And they were like hugely influential to all these people around them. And then he essentially gets put in an asylum for smoking pot. You know, then the system would literally just put you in jail or put you in an insane asylum if they thought you were a threat.
I think in society, maybe in the big picture, yeah, they don't really want too many creative people out there. They gotta have people running the system.
Yeah, well, and
People working in the factories, people working in the suit and ties, and work making the money and making the system flow.
sure.
Can't have all these like creative artists and musicians everywhere, like having fun.
Well, and it's just, once again, it's where's the money going to be put, right? So there's not even a matter of trying to keep them down. It's just a matter of if you don't value it, you're not going to give it money. You're not going to put tax money into something you don't value. So you would rather spend money on schools if you think they're teaching people a trade and like how to, fix cars and go to the military, as opposed to put money into teaching people how to paint and play musical instruments when they don't figure that's really very important. They don't. It's just a waste of their money.
Sucks.
Yeah. So, and like I said before, I mean, you can always look at a society. Really a great barometer of how a society is doing is look at the artistic community, and if the artistic community is dying or being pushed down or just not thriving, then that's a really bad sign, because something's going to happen. So I don't know what, but something. So last time I talked to Jens about puppets, and we were talking about puppets versus CGI, and I would assume you agree that most of the CGI is pretty crappy compared to like actual.
What's CGI again?
Just like computer effects versus like real, like physical. It's the difference between Star Wars, the new Star Warses, versus the original ones, where in the original ones you had actual special effects, and the new ones they're just all like basically computer generated stuff. So we were talking about how that we obviously would prefer to see like real things, even though they might look fake, they're actually there and they're more fun to watch in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, is it that or the brain has to use more of their imagination when something isn't as detailed or whatever,
That, or I think in some ways your brain, even though you could say, oh, look at Yoda in the new ones, and you'd say Yoda looks more realistic. See, you can see all the hairs, and he's moving really fluidly, but your brain almost still thinks it's more fake looking. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
when you see an actual puppet, you're like, okay, I know it's a puppet, but it's actually physically in the universe, so I believe it more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. No, that's very true.
And what we were saying is about puppets is, even though they look silly and they're in we prefer to watch them. We think it's more fun to watch.
Yeah, well that's like an interesting thing about clay animation too.
Same thing, right? Would you rather watch stop motion clay animation, or would you rather, even though it's not as fluid and you can't do things that you can do with CGI, I would rather watch like the clay animation and the stop motion a lot of times. The only exception for me is when it's something that is purely animated anyway, like Pixar. So with Pixar, I totally like the CGI, but it's all animated, so it doesn't matter. It's actually taking that and making it its own thing. So I think in that situation it works.
Yeah, but for some reason there still isn't the same appeal to the eye as something like stop motion. Because there's something about stop motion that I don't know what it is, but it captures your. It's very interesting looking. I don't
I
know.
agree.
How would you
No,
explain
I
it?
agree. Well, I loved. I mean, you know me. I mean, when I was a
And I don't think it's even a matter of taste as much with stop motion. I think there's just that's something about it that I
well,
think probably 99% of people would say
you
that it is.
you might find that that's not true though. So I bet I
Oh.
would. I don't know because I've heard from some people. So people that are younger than say 15 years old. So people who
Oh,
have
you
only grown up with pretty much the CGI generation, they might see stop motion. And I think I've heard some of them say this before, where they see stop motion, they go, "Oh, that's crappy. Look at that horrible old special effects. They hate it."
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whereas we did grow up, so we kind of know. But I mean, for me, like when I was a kid, until probably my early teens or something, my favorite movie of all time was Jason and the Argonauts.
Rise up, you dead, slain of the Hydra. Rise from your graves and avenge us. Those who steal the golden fleece must die.
And I loved everything that Ray Harryhausen did, which was the guy that did all those like Sinbad movies and all those movies with stop motion dragons and stuff. And I love that stuff because it just was like, it was like seeing three-dimensional actual physical animation, basically. And I thought that was really, and you love it too, right? You love that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you've done your own little clay animations because it's stop motion is just, there's something about that physical reality of it that makes it very, very cool and interesting. So,
Yeah.
I mean, all the old, Christmas specials, of course, Rudolph and all those were always awesome just because of that too. So that we all kind of agree to some degree about puppets and CGI. This is one thing I didn't bring up to Jen's, and I would have liked to have, but I kind of get like your take on it. I put here on my little list that some of the best movies, music, and TV has been originally designed for kids.
I think there's again I think it appeals to I think kid a lot of kids like up to a certain age you don't become as jaded by so many things in life and when you're a kid you're you're still thinking creatively more and try that's what you're.
No, I think you're hitting right on it. That was what my thought was too, is that there's something about when you have a really good movie or a really good television show or really great music. There's not so much music, but definitely music, movies, and TV that's actually designed for kids, but it doesn't it is intelligently done. There's something that's less jaded about it, and it's more kind of pure, and it has like a kind of a joy to it that you don't get a lot of times with adult things.
I think I think every person still has a kid in them, but every kid isn't an adult.
Right.
It doesn't have an adult in them. So
That's
actually,
a great point.
everybody has that. I mean, they actually call it I've heard it called like an inner child.
Sure.
Really, I mean, it's again, it's psychology. I mean, it's like the everybody has the inner child, and that even goes to like religion. Even says that type of thing. It's like you want to live like open, like a child.
Right.
You want to
Totally.
And I think creating a movie that appeals to everybody, like I haven't seen Avatar yet, but I bet that's the type of thing that like, everybody can go see that and probably just go like, whoa,
Right.
at one point or another,
But I think but I don't know. I think there's two different things, right? There's that whole spectacle aspect. So where you go to something and it's just like, it's amazing to look at. So that kind of gets